everyone, welcome to another episode of Gone Rogue. And in this episode of Gone Rogue, I am going to talk about knowing your source. That is right. In this episode of Gone Rogue, I am going to talk about how to know your source. So, one of many reasons why I want to talk about how people need to know their source is because in this day and age, that is right, in this day and age of the pandemic, we have so many information, some good information and bad information. Some good information that will get through this pandemic and set the pandemic behind us, and some bad information that still keeps us in the pandemic. And the purpose of this episode of Gone Rogue is to help move forward from this pandemic. And how do we move forward from this pandemic? Is knowing what we need to know. We need to know what is the truth. Gathering the information that is the truth and not false. And if you haven't been keeping up with the current events, especially now in 2021, at this stage of the pandemic, with the vaccinations in this country being at a freeze, since nobody wants to get the vaccine. We're still at we will never reach that point, 80% of the population, which is the target for herd immunity. We need to combat the misinformation that keeps us back in beating this pandemic. And we need to call out the misinformation. But before we call out the misinformation, we must know the source. That is right. Why is knowing the source important? Knowing the source is important because we need to spread the information that is backed by credible evidence, credible facts, and credible trial and error. And let me use a real life example that's not related to the pandemic. Would you rather trust a stranger on the street, or would you rather trust a plumber when it comes to plumbing problems? And of course you would trust a plumber. Would you trust a real estate agent or a stranger when it comes to your real estate issues? Of course, real estate agent. Would you trust a car mechanic or a typical stranger that's walking by and you ask them for their information about their cars, whether they have knowledge of their cars and what would they think to do? Of course, a mechanic. Would you rather trust a teacher to teach your kids or a stranger to teach your kids? Would you rather trust a doctor, a physician, or a stranger? And this is a prime example. Let's say you have cancer and you want to get a second thought to make sure if you do have cancer or not. You go to a second doctor after the first doctor tells you confirms that you have cancer. You go to a doctor and you say, you say that the second doctors say that you have cancer, but would you rather trust a stranger that says that you do not? So would you trust a doctor or a stranger? Ask yourself this: would you trust a doctor or a stranger saying that you have cancer? Of course you're going to trust a doctor, and you're going to follow what the doctor says to help combat cancer, and listen whatever the doctor says in order to increase your survival rate against cancer, whatever cancer you have. Same thing with COVID, same thing with the coronavirus. We should be listening to our medical experts. We should be listening to our medical experts above everyone else. We should be listening to our medical experts instead of our politicians. And I'm sure that there's one certain party that loves to spread misinformation for their political gain, and there's another party that's just relaying the same information that's said by the doctors. No need to go political, but it's just common sense. Would you rather trust a trained professional or a politician on your health decisions? And of course, the obvious answer is your trained medical professional. This goes back to knowing your source. You need to know your source. If you read a claim that the vaccines are not working, who's that source? You need to ask, who's the source that is saying that the vaccines aren't working or the masks are not working? Who is the source of those claims? It's really important to ask, who's the source, and is that source credible? This is the questions that we need to be asking, of who's the source, if their claims of how COVID is a hoax, COVID vaccines aren't working, or masks aren't working. Pretty sure the data shows. Data is shown by trained professionals behind this issue shows that masks work, these vaccines are working, and now those who spread misinformation are part, if not all, if not most of them, are responsible making this pandemic the pandemic of the unvaccinated. That is right. We are now at the stage in the pandemic where this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and we need to stop the misinformation. We need to ask who spreads misinformation about their source of information, where they get it from, and correct and make strides in providing real information, so we can help educate others who spread misinformation in order to get this pandemic behind us and move on with our daily lives and getting back to normal. So that's all I want to say for this episode of Gone Rogue. Know your source. Make sure your source is credible, and spread that thing around. Spread knowing your source around. If you like this video, please give this video a huge thumbs up. Comment section below what you think about this episode. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure to get my other YouTube content that's on this channel. Thank you for watching Gone Rogue, and I'll see you on next one.